This lesson is going to be a little bit longer. We were going to talk all about photos, how to add photos to your design. I'm going to show you the photo editor, how to adjust photos, how to use filters, grids, and how to crop your photos. And I will show you some of the most useful photo apps. So shadows, frames, how to use the background remover, autofocus, face retouch, and I will show you how to use smart mockups. You probably already know how to get photos into your document, but let's take a closer look here. So you can just select any of either your uploads, anything you've uploaded, or you find a photo from the Canva photo library, and you can just click on it and it will be added to your document, right? That's one way. You can also just drag and drop it into your document. Or if you have a grid, for example, let's find the grid. You can then drag it into whichever one of the grid sections you want to use, right? That's another way of adding your photo. You can drag it into a frame, or you can drag it into a grid like this one. We can look for frames as well. So if you find the heart icon right here, you get different frames, and then they just give you, a different look. So you can then drag your photo into whichever frame you want to use. I already showed you that you can lock your frames and your grids. So if you lock it completely, if this lock is completely locked, then you can't drag anything new into this. You see this? You can't do it. I can do it in the background, but I cannot add it to my frame right now. So that's another way of adding a photo, by the way, is dragging it into your background. So if you drag it over and then let go, you will have it as a background image. And now you can't really move it around. But with any photo in any grid or photo frame, if you double click on it, it will give you the whole entire image, as you can see now, and then you can move it around and drag it into the right position. So the same works for frames and grids. So if I put my photo in here, if I just drag it in, sometimes it centers it. Well, in this case it's centered, but it's perfectly centered, but sometimes the center is slightly off and I want to move it around a little bit. I can do that by double clicking on it, and from here I can also scale it and make it bigger or smaller. You can't make it smaller than the frame. As you can see, it doesn't let me go any further, but I can zoom in and make it bigger and then move it to the position I want it to. So double clicking on your image will allow you to do that, to scale it and to move it. Just as with any other element that you can add, when you click on an element, you will get this little contextual toolbar right here. And there are some useful tools in there. So if you click on the More button, you'll have the usual ones: copying, pasting, duplicating, deleting, all those things. But you also have Detach Image. And that can be really useful if you're trying to get your photo back out of this frame. There we go. Now we have them separate again. Okay, and the same works for the background as well. So you have your little toolbox up here. You can also get to this toolbox by just using the right click on your mouse or the control click on your keyboard, and this will also give you this menu. So if you click on the background, you'll also find the tool here, Detach Image from Background, and this will just give you the image by itself. As you can see, this also works the other way around. So you can click on an image and then click on Set Image as Background, and it turns it into the background image. And if you double click, you can move it around. You can scale it if you want. You can't make it smaller than the background. If you want to do that, you have to detach it first. But you could make it bigger by just dragging the corners up. Another interesting tool in this contextual toolbar is the Apply Colors to Page tool right here. Let me show you how this works. So let's go on the page where we have some more elements. Now, if I add a photo and I really like those colors and I just want the rest of my design to match those colors, I can right click or use this toolbar right here and then click on Apply Colors to Page, and Canva will match the colors from this photo in my document. So it will create a, it will change the font colors and it will change the background colors and all the other elements to match the colors of this photo, as you can see. So this can be an interesting way of getting your design to match a photo you found, but you probably want to use it, want to create documents the other way around and find photos that match your brand colors instead of matching your document to some photo colors that you like. Canva also has a special category just for background images. So instead of looking in the photos library right here, you can find the background section right here. And this is only for background images. So you have color options up here, and then you have different categories of background images. And those are really meant only for backgrounds. So if you click on one, it will change the background. You can't actually add this image to your design like you would a photo by clicking on it. You do have the option of detaching it from the background once you drag it in there though. So that's another way of getting to the photo. But if you just click on it here, it will add it as a background image. By the way, if you found an image that you really like for one of your pages, let's say you found a nice gradient maybe, and something that you would like to use on another page, and you found the perfect sizing and the perfect position for it, then let's see if we can find a nice one. Let's just use this one. And you want to use that on the other pages as well, you can just click on your page and copy, Command C, and then paste it, select the page, and then paste it, Command V, onto your following pages. So it's super easy to have the same background on all the pages without having to scale everything, like find the picture again, drag it in, scale it, and crop it correctly. So you don't have to do this over and over again. You can just copy and paste the background page from one page to another page. Now let's take a look at the photo editor and all the things we can do with photos. So let's create a new page here and add a photo. Let's go back to this guy. So once you have a photo selected, you can go up here to Edit Image, and you'll see all kinds of options of things you can do. So the first thing that's really cool about Canva is the background remover. Now this is a pro feature, so it's only available if you have a pro account. But the way it works is if you have, for example, this person in the foreground and you would like to put him on a design without his background, just by clicking the background remover, Canva will give you the option of doing just that by removing the background for you. And it does a really good job at that. So let's see what it does. This usually takes a little bit because it really outlines the person. And let me just tell you, I used to do this in Photoshop and it takes a really long time. So having this in Canva just with the click of a button is pretty cool. And now you have the person just by himself without his background. So you can change the background color now and you will have a cutout of this person. It's a really cool feature that Canva has. Now, I already clicked out of the image, but let me go back. Before you click out of the image, you actually have the option of erasing some more background or restoring some of the background if Canva didn't do a really good job. So you can click in here, and from here you have some different options. You can change the brush size. You can also show the original background, so you can see, well, if you would cut off an ear or something, you can go in and restore it. But it's tricky. I mean, for this you would probably need a pen or something too. I don't think you can do a really good job with a mouse, because you can't even draw a straight line or anything like this. It's a pretty tricky thing, but for the most part you probably won't need it because Canva does a really good job with it. So you can either restore it or you can erase more if you need to do that. And then once you're done adjusting your image, you just click done right here. And then you have your photo with the background removed, and then you still have the option of going back and forth. And when you're done, you just click apply, and then you have your image without the background to use any way you like. Besides the background remover, you have a few more options here. One of them is adjust. So you see 3 options right here. You can also, if you've recently used it, it might show up here, and you can flip through all the different apps, for example. But if you want to see more, you click on see all right here, and those are all the adjustments you can make to the photo you have selected. So you can adjust the brightness, make it brighter or darker. You can increase the contrast or decrease it, increase saturation or decrease it, change the tint of your photo, make it blurry. XProcess does a special effect with colors. You can create a vignette. This, gives a little frame around it again. So after you remove the background, this is probably not what you want to do, but it's an option. So it puts the highlight on the middle of the picture, the center of the picture, by darkening the corners. You can add or reduce the warmth of the image, so it just adds a really warm feel to the image, or you can decrease it and make it cooler. You can add some clarity. This makes the photo sharper. This is similar to the blur actually, so you can make it blurry, but if you drag it the opposite direction, it also makes it sharper. Let's put this back in the middle. So the clarity, vibrance, it depends on which pictures you're using. Sometimes you can't notice a huge difference. Highlights, shadows, fade, you can play around with it and see if you can enhance the photo you have. If you're using a photo from the photo library, you probably don't need to enhance it, but you might want to adjust it a bit to match your brand more. For example, my brand has a very warm feel to it. There's lots of beiges and, like a mustard color, a dark yellow. So it's a very warm brand. So when I find a picture that I really like, but it doesn't quite look as warm, I can adjust the tint, or I can add some warmth to the image. I can change the brightness and the saturation to match the look and feel of my brand. So it's a really useful tool. Sometimes there are, some images that we take with our phones that need to be adjusted a little bit. It's really great to be able to do this easily from within Canva. No need for Photoshop anymore. Another cool thing is that once you have created something that you really like, let's say we change this picture slightly, made it black and white, for example. And now we want to do the same thing to another picture we have. So let's say we want to do the same thing with her. Let's move her over a little bit. We can now go back to this image and go to our adjustments right here. You can see them. Click on See All. And at the very bottom, we see this filter code. And you can now just copy the entire thing and then go to her, find the filter code, and then paste it here. And it will adjust it exactly the same way we adjusted this picture. So it's not necessarily what you want in this case, but if you want to apply the same filters to all the images, this is the way you could do it. You can copy and paste this filter code. Another way of doing this, let me go back. So another way of doing this is clicking on an image that you want to copy and then using this copy style icon up here. And you just click on that and then you apply the style to your photo and it will do the exact same thing. So now we go back to edit image and we will see the exact same adjustments. The next thing we can do to our image is we can apply different filters. So those are basically adjustment presets that Canva offers us. So we can just try out different ones and you can see in your image how they change. And then if you click on the adjustment, you will see how they achieve that. And just with anything else, you can copy and paste this code and apply it to other images or use the copy style icon up here. For most filters, you can, once you selected it, you can click on this little filter icon to make adjustments. So you can decrease or increase the intensity of the filters. If you scroll a little bit further down, you will see some other options you have of how you can edit your photos. So there's a duotone option, for example. You can see all the different options right here. You can choose one, and then you have a little filter icon here where you can change the colors. So maybe make them a little bit more on brand. And you can change the intensity. It's just something to play with. You also have different effects, like a trippy effect. So again, you know, it's just something to play around with. What else do we have? Photogenic is basically another filter option. You know, you can make it warmer, you can make it cooler. And you can slice your image up to make it a little bit more trippy. Mincing, tearing it, chipping it. So all kinds of things you can do with your images. It's just like Photoshop, trying out different things. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, Canva suggests some other apps you can try out. So let's take a look at some of those. If you scroll up a little bit higher, you'll see some tools here that could be really useful. One of them is autofocus, and the other one is face retouch. We need some different images for those though. So let's delete these and find some other ones. Here are some faces. Let's see if we can find something else. Those are really good pictures already, so they don't need to be retouched. But I want to show you what the apps are doing. So let's try it with this one. The autofocus app will allow you to blur the background of an image. So just like the background remover, Canva will try its best to do exactly that. Separate the foreground from the background. You can see how it does it really well for the actual background, but the in-between spaces, Canva didn't recognize them. So there are some parts right here and right here where it didn't recognize the background. So there are some limitations to it. But for a lot of images, this works really well, and it can really enhance your image quite a bit. You don't have to make it as intense, you can make it a little bit less intense, but just blurring the background a little bit can really make the focus of your image, the foreground, pop a lot more. So this can be a really useful feature depending on the images you choose. If you already have professional images, you won't need this. Another thing is and as you can see, those are both beta versions, so they might still change a bit over time as Canva tests them out and other people give feedback about how they work. Another one of those apps is the Face Retouch app right here. Now, if you're using professional photos, this probably won't help you very much either, but sometimes at events or I don't know, sometimes we use photos just taken with our phone, and this Face Retouch app can help us improve those photos. So you select your image and you click on Face Retouch, and then you just get some options here. You can either let Canva do the job and determine, what needs to be retouched there automatically, retouch it, intensify it or not. You can see the original and see what it actually did. Or you can just do one thing. So smooth skin, whiten teeth, or reduce the red eye, which sometimes happens when we take pictures. So it's just another way of improving photos that are not professionally taken if you need to do that. Some other tools that are super fun to use are the shadows right here and the frames. So they just let you apply either shadows or frames to your image. So if you click on See All here, you can add certain shadows to your picture by just clicking on it. And as with any of those tools, you get a little filter or control option here, and from there you can make your adjustments. So as you can see, it added a shadow underneath my picture right there. I can curve it more or less, change the offset, transparency, blur. I can even change the color of the shadow. So you can just choose a shadow that works best for your image and the project you're working on. It's a really great tool that I use quite a lot because it just adds some dimension to your design. And the same way as the shadows work the frames, so you can just put your image into a different frame, for example, into a laptop or any of the other frames you can see here. There we go. So it's just another interesting way of adding some more a focal point to your design or just making it look, giving it a different look. You can find most of the frames also under elements if you search for it, but this is just an easy way of doing it without having to look for it and then piecing together an element and a photo. This is just automatically applied to it. So different things you can find here. And as always, you can change the position by moving your photo around a little bit. It's limited what you can do there, but a lot of those just give you a really quick fix for something, a really easy way to do something. So definitely worth playing around with. If you want to undo any of the apps or filters you used, you can usually go back to the one you used, like frames in this case, and then just click on None up here. In the Adjust section, you also have the option, when you click on See All and scroll all the way to the bottom, you have a little reset button here. So this will reset all the adjustments to the default the way it is right now. So if I change the warmth, for example, and then click on Reset, it will reset it to the beginning. I already showed you in a different lesson that you can access the smart mockups from the Edit Image section as well. So just to include it here as well, if you want to use mockups for an image that you have in your design, you can do this from here as well. You can click on See All and you will get access to a lot of different mockups. It's not quite as extensive as using it from the home page, from the tool section there. You have access to over 8,000 mockups from the home page. Here, it's quite a few less. It's maybe 100 or something like this, but still a lot of them. And to use it, you just select your picture, click on it, and Canva will then place it into your mockup that you chose. And from here, you can just use it as a flattened image. And as with most apps and filters, you have a little control section here, so you can choose how you want your image to be cropped. If you want it to fill the whole entire screen, or if you want the image to just fit in there, or you can choose a custom setting that will allow you to zoom in and zoom out of your image and change the positioning as well. So you can move it down and up and left and right to make it fit the mockup better. If you want to crop your image, you have some different options. If your image is not in a frame, if it is in a frame or in a grid, you usually only have the option of scaling it by grabbing the corner handles. Those middle handles here are usually not available. So you can scale it up or scale it down. If you just clicked on the image from your upload section or from the library, you will notice that it also has those middle handles. And grabbing the corner handles will allow you to scale it with the original proportions without changing them. But clicking on the middle handles right here, this will allow you to actually change the proportion of the image frame. So you can crop your image to whatever section you want to show. If you make it bigger and you reach the limit of the photo, which is about right here, if I keep dragging it down, this is a horizontal photo, so there are some limitations, right? If I keep dragging it down and turning it into a vertical photo, you will see how Canva will automatically adjust the image and make sure that it still fits within the frame. And the same happens the other way around too. If I scale it to a dimension where I reach the end of the photo, Canva will keep scaling it and crop it accordingly. You also have the option of clicking on the crop button up here. So when you click on this, Canva will show you the original photo and you will see the crop frame where you cropped it. So from here you can scale the image, and as you can see here, you can only keep the original proportion. Canva doesn't allow you to tweak the picture out of proportion so it looks all squeezed or stretched. So you can zoom in or zoom out of your picture right here. And you can also adjust the crop frame from here. So with this one, it will allow you to choose which part of the image you want to show in your design. And as you can see, Canva, when you grab a corner, Canva will give you some guidelines here, you know, where the thirds of the images are, so you can place it in a good spot. So if we want to focus on the cup, for example, we can crop it all the way down. And when I click out of this now, we will only have this left. And then I can either click back on the crop part right here, which will give you my whole image, or I can also double click on my image and I will get the same thing. And from here I can make my adjustments again the way I like it.